steam softens the edges of everything. That is the first thing she notices as she steps into the bathing chamber. The way the stone walls blur slightly. The way the torches glow less harshly through the haze. The way sound itself seems muted. The room smells of warm water and crushed herbs, the faint sharpness of rosemary, and something sweeter she cannot immediately place. She had not expected the Duke to be here. That realization lands a heartbeat after she crosses the threshold, too late to retreat, without making it obvious. The door closes behind her with a quiet, final sound, sealing the warmth inside. He stands near the far wall, coat discarded, sleeves rolled, his dark tunic already loosened at the collar. He turns at the sound of the door, expression composed, as though this were not unusual, though his eyes tell a different story. "You came," he says. "You asked me to," she replies. "Yes." The word hangs between them, heavier than it should be. She remains near the door, hands clasped loosely in front of her, aware all at once of how overdressed she is for the room. The corset beneath her gown presses uncomfortably now that the heat has taken hold. Each breath a shallow negotiation. "This wasn't what I expected," she says. "No," he agrees. "It rarely is." She studies him, the steam curling between them, obscuring and revealing in equal measure. He looks prepared, not hurried, not indulgent, intentional. "You said the envoy's letter required immediate attention," she says. "It did," he replies. "And it does. But not here. No." Her brow tightens. "Then why summon me to the bath chamber?" "Because," he says calmly, "you would not have come if I had said the word comfort." She exhales slowly. "You're assuming quite a lot." "I'm observing," he replies. "You've been in council since dawn. You refused the midday rest. You arrived here already braced. That is not your concern. It becomes my concern," he says, "when your endurance begins to cost you." The steam thickens as the water shifts in the great stone basin at the center of the room. She glances toward it despite herself, its surface faintly rippling, inviting without being indulgent. "This is inappropriate," she says again, though the protest sounds thinner now. "Yes," he agrees immediately, "which is why I haven't asked you to disrobe." Her breath catches, just a fraction. "But you are asking something," she says. "Yes." She waits. "You're overheated," he continues, "and tightly laced. The combination is unwise." "I'm fine." "You're flushed." "It's the steam." "Yes," he replies. "And the corset." She shifts her weight slightly, the movement betraying more than she intends. The pressure at her ribs is sharper now, the heat relentless. "You should leave," she says. "I will," he replies. "If you ask me to." The familiar pattern unsettles her. "You're doing that on purpose." "Yes." She looks at him sharply. "Putting the decision on me." "I'm offering you agency," he corrects. She scoffs softly. "That's generous of you." "I try to be precise." The steam curls upward again, briefly obscuring his face before clearing. When it does, his gaze is steady, attentive. "You don't ask for help," he says quietly. "I don't need it." "You endure," he replies. "Even when you shouldn't have to." "That's not a failing." "No," he agrees. "But it's not a virtue either." The words land with unexpected weight. "You didn't summon me here to lecture me," she says. "No." "Then what do you want?" He pauses, not because he is uncertain, but because he is choosing his words. "I want you to breathe," he says. The simplicity of it startles her. "I can breathe." "Not fully." She opens her mouth to argue, then stops as a wave of heat makes her lightheaded. She steadies herself against the doorframe, the stone cool beneath her palm. He notices immediately. "You're dizzy," he says. "It will pass." "It doesn't need to," he replies. She straightens. "You're suggesting I undress." "No," he says calmly. "I'm suggesting you loosen one thing." Her pulse quickens. "That's a dangerous distinction." "Yes." "And you're making it anyway." "Yes." She laughs softly, humorless. "You're very confident." "I'm very attentive." The steam shifts again, and for a moment the room feels smaller, warmer, as if the walls themselves are closing in. "You should sit," he says. "There's no chair." "Then stand near the basin." "I'm not bathing." "I didn't suggest you should." She hesitates, then moves a few steps forward despite herself, stopping near the stone basin. The heat intensifies there, the air heavy with moisture. "You're wearing formal stays," he says. "That is not your concern." "It is," he replies, "if they're restricting your breath." She folds her arms reflexively. You're crossing a line. Yes. And you're saying that like you're aware of it. I am. The honesty unsettles her more than denial would. If I say no, she says, you will stop. Immediately. And if I say stop at any point, I will. The promise steadies something in her chest. She looks down at the water, watching the faint ripples, then back at him. This cannot go further, she says. I have no intention of it doing so without your consent. The words are careful, measured. She swallows. Just the top laces, she says finally. Nothing else. Yes. And you do not touch my skin. Yes. And when I say stop, you stop. Yes. The agreement settles between them, fragile and exact. He does not approach immediately. Instead, he steps closer only after she nods, giving her time to reconsider. She does not. The steam thickens as he moves behind her, his presence warm but controlled. She feels it before she sees it, the way the air shifts, the way the room seems to hold its breath. Hold still, he murmurs. The words send a shiver down her spine that has nothing to do with the heat. His fingers find the laces at the back of her gown, working through fabric to the corset beneath. He is careful. No tugging, no hurry. The first lace loosens. She inhales sharply, the sound escaping her before she can stop it. He stills instantly. You're all right, he says quietly. Yes, she replies, though her pulse is racing. You didn't expect that. No. And you didn't tell me to stop. No. He resumes, loosening another lace, then another. The pressure eases fraction by fraction, her breathing deepening without conscious effort. Steam fogs the room further, blurring the edges of the world until there is only warmth, stone, and the careful movement of his hands. You can breathe now, he says softly. Yes. And you're not bracing. She hadn't realized she was. Another lace loosens. Her corset is already half undone. This is dangerous, she whispers. Yes, he agrees. And you're still continuing. Yes. The truth settles between them, undeniable. And as the steam thickens and her breath comes easier, she realizes with sudden clarity. This was never about the bath. And whatever comes next will not be easily retied. The steam shifts again, thickening as if the room itself has drawn a breath. She feels it first along her arms, a prickle of warmth that is no longer merely heat but awareness. Of the stone beneath her slippers, of the water murmuring faintly in the basin, of the careful presence behind her that has not once overstepped. Her breathing has slowed, deepened, and with it something else has eased, something she has carried for so long she had mistaken it for posture. He loosens another lace. Then he stops, not because he has finished, but because he has reached the limit they agreed upon. His hands withdraw a fraction, hovering without contact, as if marking the boundary in air rather than crossing it. You're breathing more evenly, he observes. Yes, she replies. The word sounds different now, steadier, unforced. And you're not swaying. I wasn't swaying. You were close, he says, not unkindly. She swallows, eyes on the steam curling upward from the basin. I don't like being reminded of my limits. No one does, he replies, especially those who live by ignoring them. The truth of it settles, quiet and uncomfortable. She shifts her weight, testing the new ease at her ribs. The corset, loosened just enough, feels less like a wall and more like a frame. It supports without constraining, and the difference is startling. You could finish, she says, meaning something else entirely. He does not move. I won't. Because I didn't ask you to. Yes. And if I asked, I would ask you to be certain, he replies. And then I would still stop at the line you set. The restraint steadies her more than indulgence ever could. She turns slightly, just enough to see him in the reflection of the basin's polished rim. His expression is composed, attentive, entirely present. He is not watching the laces now. He is watching her. This was meant to be practical, she says. It is, he answers. And it can be more than one thing. The steam thins briefly as a draft moves through the chamber. In the quiet that follows, she becomes acutely aware of the absence of urgency. Nothing is pressing her forward. Nothing is pulling him closer. You said the envoy's letter mattered, she says. It does, he replies. But it wasn't the reason I asked you here. She nods slowly. I thought as much. He waits. You noticed something, she continues. Before I did. Yes. And instead of pointing it out in public, you chose this. I chose privacy, he says. and honesty. She lets out a breath that is almost a laugh. Those don't usually travel together. They can, he replies, if handled carefully. The water in the basin shifts again, a soft lap against stone. She turns a little more, not enough to face him fully, but enough that the space between them feels shared rather than divided by steam. You're very careful, she says. I am, he agrees. And you're still dangerous. Yes. The admission is simple, unadorned. She straightens, smoothing her skirts, then pauses. You could have used the heat as an excuse. I don't make excuses, he replies. I make choices. And this was one. Yes. The quiet between them deepens, not strained, but attentive. People will talk, she says at last. Yes. Not about this room, she adds, but about the way you looked at me when I arrived. Yes. And about how long I stayed. Yes. And you're not going to deny it. No. She nods once, satisfied. I don't want secrecy, she says. You won't have it. And I don't want this to be a thing that only exists in moments of relief. It won't. Then what does it become? She asks. He considers the question without haste. It becomes something we decide in daylight. The answer steadies her. Not tonight, she says. No. And not here. No. The steam thins further, revealing the chamber's edges again. The stone benches, the hooks along the wall, the neatly folded towels stacked by the basin. The world returns to focus, but the awareness does not fade. You should retie the laces before you leave, he says gently. Just enough. Yes. And I will turn away. Yes. He does, immediately. No hesitation, no flourish. Crossing to the far side of the chamber and facing the wall, giving her the courtesy of privacy without comment. She watches him for a moment, then reaches back, fingers finding the loosened cords. She tightens them carefully, stopping before they bite, testing the balance until it feels right. The act feels different now, not a reflex, not a shield, but a choice. When she finishes, she rests her hands at her waist, grounding herself in the steadiness of her breath. You can turn around, she says. He does. You look more comfortable, he observes. I am. Good. She takes a step toward the door, then stops. The steam curls again, thinner now, as if the room is exhaling. You said hold still, she says quietly. Yes. And I trusted you. Yes. And you didn't use that stillness to take. No. She meets his gaze. That matters. It will continue to, he replies. She nods, then opens the door. Cooler air spills in, lifting the steam in a slow, ghostly wave. I should go, she says. Yes. And you won't follow. No. And this won't be spoken of lightly. No. But it won't be denied either. No. She steps into the corridor, the stone cool beneath her palm as she steadies herself for a heartbeat. Then she walks, posture composed, breath even, aware of the subtle shift that follows her into the night. The keep is quieter now, the hour late enough that footsteps are fewer, voices softer. As she moves, she notices the difference immediately. The way her lungs fill without effort, the way her shoulders rest without conscious command. Later, in her chamber, she removes her gown and loosens the corset again, this time without ceremony, without pain. She hangs it carefully, not discarded, not rejected. It will be worn again, but not the same way. Sleep comes easier than she expects. Morning arrives without drama. Light spills across the floor as she dresses, choosing garments that are dignified without being severe. She laces the stays deliberately, stopping before they bind, testing the fit until it supports rather than constrains. At counsel, she is precise, composed, fully present. He listens as he always has, but now there is an added attentiveness that others begin to notice. He does not interrupt her. He does not overshadow her. When decisions sharpen, he seeks her view first. The room adjusts. Afterward, when the chamber clears, he speaks one word. Stay. She does. In the daylight, with the steam and shadows behind them, they speak plainly, about intention, about pace, about the shape of what may come and the freedom to step away if it does not hold. Nothing is promised. Nothing is denied. That evening, she passes the bath chamber without entering. The door stands open, the room empty, steam long since dissipated. She does not look back. Because the steam fogged the room, he reached for her laces anyway, and neither of them pretended it was only about comfort. Daylight changes the meaning of everything. She realizes this as soon as she steps into the outer courtyard the following morning. The air is crisp, the steam of the bath chambers long dispersed, replaced by the clean scent of stone and early sun. The keep is awake but unhurried, guards exchanging quiet greetings, servants moving with practiced efficiency. Nothing about the world looks altered, and yet she feels it in the way she walks. Her breath comes easily now, not measured or managed. Her shoulders rest where they fall, no longer held by habit alone. The corset beneath her gown supports without constraining. She had laced it carefully, deliberately, stopping before it claimed more than she was willing to give. Choice. That is the word that follows her across the stones. She reaches the council chamber early, taking her place at the table while the room is still half empty. Papers lie neatly arranged, sunlight spilling across them through tall windows that admit no shadowed corners. When the Duke enters, he does not look at her immediately. He greets the room, takes his seat, and only then meets her gaze, briefly, calmly, without emphasis. The restraint is deliberate, public. It matters. The meeting proceeds as it always does, but with a subtle shift that others begin to sense without understanding why. When she speaks, the room listens. When debate sharpens, he defers to her assessment without explanation. There is no spectacle in it. There doesn't need to be. After the final matter is resolved and the council begins to disperse, the Duke does not ask her to remain. He simply stands. She recognizes the cue and does the same. The others file out, conversation tapering into the corridor beyond. When the doors close, the chamber settles into quiet that feels earned rather than imposed. You chose comfort, he says, not accusing, not indulgent. Yes, she replies. I chose myself. He inclines his head slightly. It shows. She considers him for a moment. This will invite attention. Yes. And interpretation. Yes. And not all of it kind. No. She exhales slowly. Then we should be clear. Yes. The sunlight cuts across the floor between them, leaving no ambiguity about where they stand. What happened in the bath chamber, she says, cannot be reduced to rumor. No. And it cannot be repeated as secrecy. No. She steps closer, not into his space, but nearer than formality requires. I do not want this to be something I endure, she continues, or something you manage. No. I want it to be chosen. Yes. The certainty of his agreement steadies her again. And I want the freedom to step away, she adds, if at any point this becomes something that constrains rather than supports. You will have it, he says immediately. No pause. No qualification. That matters. Then we proceed, she says, without haste. Yes. And without hiding. Yes. And without pretending this began as anything other than care. He meets her gaze fully. I noticed you. The simplicity of it lands deeper than any declaration could have. That was enough, she says. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Then he gestures toward the open doors. Walk with me. They move together through the corridors, not alone but aligned, their pace unhurried. Those who pass them notice, not because of proximity, but because of ease. There is no tension to explain, no urgency to disguise. By midday, the keep has adjusted. Whispers do not gather. They dissipate. When evening comes, she finds herself drawn not to the bath chamber, but to the garden overlooking the inner court. Lanterns glow softly along the paths, the air cool and steady. He joins her without announcement. You didn't return to the bath chamber, he observes. No. And you didn't avoid it either. No. She turns to face him. It served its purpose. Yes. And now, she says, it belongs to memory. They stand side by side, watching the light fade beyond the walls. You reached for my laces, she says quietly. Yes. And you stopped when I asked. Yes. And you didn't make the moment something it wasn't. No. She looks at him fully. That restraint matters more than the act itself. I know. The lantern light softens the edges of the world, but nothing feels blurred now. This will change how we are seen, she says. Yes. And how I am judged. Yes. And how you are measured. Yes. She smiles faintly. You're still willing. Yes. The answer is immediate, unwavering. Later, as the night deepens, she returns to her chamber alone. She removes her gown slowly, thoughtfully, and unlaces the corset with care. She does not rush. She does not discard it. She hangs it neatly, smoothing the fabric as she does. It is no longer an enemy, nor is it a shield. It is a choice. Sleep comes easily. In the days that follow, the shape of things settles into something sustainable. They are seen together often, never secretive, never indulgent. Conversations continue. Responsibilities remain. What changes is subtle but unmistakable. The way she speaks without bracing, the way he listens without asserting, the way decisions are shared rather than negotiated. No promises are made publicly. None are needed. One afternoon, she passes the bath chamber again. The door stands open, the room empty, cool now, the stone basin dry. She pauses only a moment. Then she continues on. Because the steam fogged the room. He reached for her laces anyway. And what followed was not indulgence, not secrecy, not a moment taken in heat and forgotten in daylight. It was attention. It was restraint. It was choice. And that, more than comfort, more than proximity, is what endures.